enforcement and race.
A new California law went into effect on January 1st that led to the release of never-before-seen reports that reinforce accusations of racial profiling and excessive force. CBS 8's Kirsten Holmes and our investigation team obtained those documents and analyzed the information. We want to warn viewers that what you're about to see is difficult to watch.
Get up! Get up! I'm so disappointed in you. You have no idea.
This video shows excessive force used on a juvenile in March of 2020, and it is just one of many incidents coming to light after the release of SDPD's police misconduct reports. Advocates are glad these incidents are now being made public, but they also worry about what they show.
I often have to worry about my children being out on the streets and potentially being stopped by law enforcement.
What would make you believe that because your children are black, that they would have an issue with law enforcement here in San Diego?
Because of Senate Bill 16's release of police personnel files that show that they have discriminated against individuals who were black.
CBS 8 scoured through these reports and found many racially charged accusations against the San Diego Police Department. In February of 2020, an off-duty SDPD officer was arrested in Old Town after officers on the scene say he was drunk, making racial slurs and trying to start a fight, and did indeed say, quote, "I'm a cop and I kill the N-word for a living."
San Diego Police, if you're in here, announce yourself.
In another case from January 2021, an SDPD sergeant was overheard saying his canine only likes dark meat. That's a racial epithet, and he used it more than once.
Someone saying canines only bite dark meat, still left in a supervisor's position. You look at Senate Bill 16's release on SDPD's website, and you can tell that the worst of the worst were left to patrol and harm people who look like us.
Another finding, a cardboard cutout of rapper Rick Ross in an SDPD lineup saying, "Every day I'm hustling" to the beat of the rapper's hit song, asking officers to sign up for overtime.
What's your estimation of their rollout of SB 16 and their compliance?
I am finding more and more that there are plenty of officers whose personnel records, disciplinary records, and complaints were not released and are being withheld.
CBS 8 has reached out to SDPD several times for comment on this investigation, but so far, San Diego police have not responded.
This is simply why we continue to ask, as a whole collective of activists and community members, that the police does not police itself. Release their tickets, release their stops, release their use of force. Make it public. Let us know exactly how far the discrimination goes. What they tell me when I ask for public records requests is that it is in the best interest of the community not to release.
Why do they say that?
Because it's going to be very damning.
We have a job to do.
Michael Sierra Aravalo, an assistant sociology professor from the University of Texas at Austin, says race is a problem with policing because the history of the institution for a lot of the country started with slave patrol.
That is the unfortunate and undeniable history of the origins of the institution of policing in the United States. Officers today are not responsible for that history, but they are responsible, in my view, for the consequences of that history.
Michael admits lack of transparency or not taking interviews or answering questions actually work against already overloaded officers who are often understaffed, overworked, and underpaid. And for most officers working today in 2023,
officers get saddled with all these broken pieces, and they're told to pick them up with limited tools and limited resources.
How do we fix this, Tasha?
Oh, yes, zero tolerance. You know how they have zero tolerance on criminals in the community? They need to have that same feeling about their own officers. It's very hard when you have children and people can do whatever they want to them. No matter how respectful your children are, a law enforcement officer can come and beat them to death.
Do you feel safe?
I do not.
All right.
Greetings and welcome to another powerful edition of the Community Defender Talk Show. One powerful hour of truth, dispelling falsehood. I'm your host, Brother Darrell Muhammad, and we're very glad that you have tuned in to tonight's program. And as usual, we have a very informative and powerful show planned for you, because it is only truth that will empower our people. But after you're empowered with truth, you and I must act on that truth. Now, joining us today is Brother Carl Cavalier, who was interviewed on our program February 20th of last year. So it's been about a year and a half since we've had our brother on. And of course, you know, he is the whistleblower, as they call it, for the Ronald Green murder by Louisiana State Police. And a lot has happened since then. A lot has come to light since then. And as our brother said last time, he said that the feds don't have everything. More and more things are coming to light with the beating death of our brother on the side of the road. And of course, you know, that death was blamed on a car crash. And later we find that something else was in fact the case. So what we're going to do, family, is we're going to bring in our wonderful brother, Brother Carl Cavalier, who has courageously stood up for the truth. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Brother Carl, are you with us?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
All right. Yes, sir. And I want to first of all thank you for your courage. I want to thank you for getting information and bringing it to light. And as you know, there's always a cost to telling the truth in a world such as this. And it's disheartening that you haven't gotten even more support. But to the extent that we can support you here at the Community Defender, we, of course, will support you. And we will provide you with the platform to get your message out. Now, if you would, you can, I guess, bring us briefly through everything that led up to the moment that we're at, and starting with, I guess, how you found out about this information and what has happened since you brought it to light and since you have come out publicly to show everybody and to make it known that a man who was said to have died in a car crash was in fact beat to death by Louisiana State Police. And of course, just to mention to our family, this brother is a Louisiana State trooper. He was fired for violating company policy. And so the only people that were fired were the people that told the truth. And so we want to make sure that our brother has an opportunity to tell his story. Go ahead, brother Carl Cavalier.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys for having me back on as well. But to get right into it, just to give a brief synopsis of it, in 2019, May 10th of 2019, Ronald Green was involved in a vehicle pursuit involving Louisiana State Police and a local agency for allegedly, they were chasing him for a traffic violation, supposedly. So when they caught up with him in North Louisiana, the Monroe area, he gave up, put his hands in the air, stated that, hey, I'm your brother, I'm sorry. He was apologetic about it. They drug him out the car, beat him, hog-tied him with the handcuffs and shackles, drug him across the pavement. They were doing this to him until he eventually succumbed to his injuries. And the Louisiana State Police was portraying the whole incident to the family of Ronald Green as if he had died in a car wreck as a result of a car wreck. And they were not offering any body camera or any audio or anything like that. It wasn't until someone leaked the body camera footage where you can actually see Ronald Green being beaten, tased, and all of this. And none of this came to light prior to the video being leaked. And still to this day, Louisiana State Police has stuck to the story of Ronald Green dying in a car wreck, even with professional individuals giving their opinion of otherwise, and also us seeing the video ourselves. They never said that they beat Ronald Green and, did all these things to him to cause his death. So they're sticking to that story now. A year or so went by without Louisiana State Police doing anything to anyone, involving the incident. It wasn't until things came to light that they decided to take swift action against one of the troopers at least, and he quickly, I say he committed suicide. He decided to get in his vehicle that same day or the very next day after the state police decided they were going to take disciplinary actions against him. And he decided to drink and drive at high speeds without a seatbelt on, and he was a driving instructor. But they labeled his death as accidental so his family could get the insurance. Fast forward, the feds decided to move their feet on the case since myself and others came forward and started speaking out. I even had investigators call me and say, man, hey, we've been trying to get the feds to move their feet on this case for some time now. I'm glad you spoke out. And, they're moving their feet now. At least they pretended to, because we still see now that, it still took them years to even come to handing down indictments that wouldn't work the gum on the bottom of my shoe. So fast forward to the day where we are now, as it pertains to me, I was threatened for maybe a year or so that they were going to fire me. They're going to do things with me. I was getting word from people inside the state police, inside the ranks of state police, saying that, hey, man, look, keep doing what you're doing because they don't know what to do with you. Well, that was evident when Colonel Lamar Davis, it was learned that Colonel Lamar Davis sent a text message to Governor John Bel Edwards' office saying that, hey, Carl Cavalier is conducting interviews about the Ronald Green case. I'm going to find out what to do with him, and I'll let you know, what we decide to do with him. So they didn't know what to do with me at that point because, it never happened before. It never happened into this magnitude. So eventually they terminated my employment, and, I went through the appeals process, Louisiana State Police Commission. They continued my continuously continued my case on several occasions. So I have that, and I also have my case in the federal court, and I'm having to play an appeals game in the federal court because my previous attorney, Jill Craft, misrepresented my position and tried to settle for some money, try to get a quick dollar. So I'm playing catch up with that, and I'm waiting on the judge to render a decision on my rehearing offer, my rehearing motion. And tomorrow I have a hearing for 10 a.m. in Baton Rouge at 19 JDC. Judge Donald Johnson's courtroom for a mandamus, a writ of mandamus called that's to force the Louisiana State Police Commission to put my case back on the docket like it's supposed to be, and to force them to stop stalling. If I should say stalling. They've been stalling for 2 years now. They don't want the evidence that I have to come out. They don't have to deal with me at all. They don't have to have me to give my compelling statements and put on a great case and possibly get my job back. They don't have to deal with that at all. So they've been stalling and saying, hey, we're going to wait on a federal judge. Well, the federal judge is separate. The federal case is separate from Louisiana State Police Commission, and they're trying to hide behind him. So I filed a writ of mandamus to force them to move the situation forward. So that's what it is in a nutshell, and that's where I'm at right now.
Now, yeah, and a writ of mandamus is basically a motion to compel a government or a governmental agency to literally do its job. So that particular motion is saying fulfill your governmental obligation, and it's to compel that agency to fulfill what they're obligated to do, which is to give you a hearing and to deal with this thing forthright. And we understand that the facts, when you look at the video of those people beating a man to death and tasing him, all that, him crying out in pain, all of these things, and then you look at the lies and so forth. Now, we find, and I was reading this, good brother, in the Final Call newspaper, because a recent edition of the Final Call newspaper on page 4 talks about this case and how 2 of the officers were taken out of the justice system in terms of that they were the judge dropped charges against 2 of these officers. So what exactly happened in that situation? Since the cover-up was widespread among a lot of people, what was the basis of the judge throwing these 2 people out of that case?
From what I know about that situation, the judge threw the charges out because D.A. Belton and his name's going to escape me right now. D.A. Belton and the older white guy they brought, D.A. Belton decided to bring in with him, who seems to be openly racist and don't care about it. They both decided to disregard the judge's request or his commands to say, hey, you need to produce this, you need to produce that. And they decided to say, hey, you got what you got, and you got to work with what you got. They, pretty much talking to the judge like that. So it seemed to me from the start, D.A. Belton is the guy who had the ball in his court and decided to kick the case down the road when Ronald Green case first began in 2019. He was the guy that did that, and you can still see now to the day we get all the way up to having indictments and him still trying to kick the can down the road and not do what he's supposed to do. So now it's looking like to me they're just trying to intentionally throw the case, and that's what I thought from the beginning, and now it's just being confirmed because no one ever goes in the courtroom and talks to the judge like that, even if you don't like the judge. It's just something you don't do. Even if you don't agree with the process, it's just something you don't do. Things are not going to go your way because he's the guy that's going to rule on everything. So that's my limited knowledge of what was going on with that. They didn't want to produce proper documentation or wording or what have you to describe the charges that were in question. And since they decided not to, the judge threw those charges out.
Right. Now, and this is just something from the Final Call newspaper. It says at Final Call press time, only 3 of the 5 officers continue to face charges. Not charged was Chris Hollingsworth, a trooper who died in a single vehicle car accident, according to media reports in September of 2020, just hours after learning he would be fired for his role in Green's death. The 3 remaining officers facing charges are Corey York for negligent homicide and 10 counts of malfeasance in office, John Clary for obstruction of justice and malfeasance in office, and Christopher Harpin, who was charged with 3 counts of malfeasance in office. And it looks like that this conspiracy to shut everything down on this case was a lot more widespread than just those 3 officers. And what you're saying is that it looks like some of this is intentional on the prosecution side, right?
That's correct. Some of it seems intentional to me, just knowing the facts of the case early on, just knowing that D.A. Belton did not want to do his job early on because he wanted to run for the AG spot. I've heard he sent back down off of the AG spot to hopefully take another political position on Biden's, cabinet or in Biden's, group of politicians that he have around. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what position that was, but I've heard he commented on that and kind of lightweight confirmed that. But just from knowing the facts early on in the case, I think that D.A. Belton is just trying to throw the case because he don't want to have it on his hand that he indicted some officers, some white officers at that.
Right, and D.A. Belton he's an African American?
That's correct. He's an African American.
All right. Now, this of course brings us to some of the discourse that we had last time when you were on in person, and that is our struggle as a people to get people in position. We've worked with the system as much as we can in terms of our protests, our request for access to the table, you will, of decision making in the government. And even when given that limited access that we have, it appears that very often we're not doing the things that we need to do, as we're supposed to do, because high positions and money are the thing that we're after. And that's why I always make the point, there's a difference between if you want real freedom and you want comfort. If you want comfort, that may be a little different from what freedom and justice looks like at a particular moment in time. And so as a person who was offered a settlement, and of course, a lot of times attorneys that work on a contingency basis, a lot of times are always hoping for the settlement because they can get a check a lot of times and move on, but that settlement may not be the justice that the client is seeking. Can you speak to that and why it was that, according to media reports, that you were offered a fairly large settlement in some people's eyes, and you did not take it, and you're continuing to pursue this case? Can you kind of shed some light on your thinking at a particular time so that people can kind of know?
Yes, of course. The only people who think that settlement was large enough to satisfy what's going on with me, what took place, with me, with them stripping away my career and everything else that, all the expenses I've incurred, all the other expenses that I've accrued while going through this process. The only people that think that's a significant amount of money is the people who have a vested interest in my evidence not coming out and keeping this thing quiet, keeping the Ronald Green case, under wraps, and keeping the Carl Cavalier case under wraps. That's the only people who think that is a substantial amount of money. I guess I can jump to your first question, your first point about these politicians who finally, who look like us and sound like us. They finally get in these positions. I could point out Vincent Pierre in Lafayette, which all up there that way, president of the Black Caucus, has no idea of how to serve, his community at all. Has no idea how to serve his community at all. Katrina Jackson in North Louisiana, just straight jumping out in front of the governor without even a governor making a statement first. He jumps out in the front, Vic Pierre jumps out in the front and decides to try to save the governor from any, backlash, or save the governor for taking, stepping up and taking responsibility as a governor and an overseer of Louisiana State Police, and, his lack of due diligence and trying to right these wrongs within Louisiana State Police. So, and we continuously vote those people into place, because this is not their, their first term, I should say, in the state representative spot. Katrina Jackson and Vincent Pierre, and we continuously vote those people in the spot. But in reference to back to my my $200,000 settlement, I think they want to just force that up on me so I can go away and lay everything to rest, so they don't have to deal with the evidence, so they have to deal with the voice recordings that I have, so they have to deal with the emails and the text messages that I have, because I don't really need witnesses to get on the stand and say, hey, back me up, help me out. I don't need that. All I need to do is press play. All I need to do is get in the courtroom and press play on the evidence that I have, and things will play out the way they're supposed to, but they don't want that. They just want me to take some money and go away. I didn't find out that my previous attorney, Jill Craft, was, previously took a grandstand for Governor Edwards in the past. If I would have known that prior to signing on with her, I'd have never signed on with her, because that's a conflict of interest to me, because if that's the governor is your friend and someone you go to bat for, I'm speaking critically of the governor. I'm saying things that the governor knew of information that he's claiming not to know about in relation to the Ronald Green case. I'd have never signed on as my attorney. So I think from the get-go, she had her agenda from the door, but that eventually revealed itself when the money came out, and she was trying to get a quick paycheck, and she did a quick turnaround on me and didn't want to fight with me no more. And I have those recordings to prove that. I don't need her testimony. I don't need anybody else's testimony in reference to that, and also have recordings of a judge, a magistrate judge, who's supposed to be a neutral party in cases, telling me that $200,000 is a great deal of money, trying to urge me to take the money and he overstepped his boundary. And nobody knew that I was recording the whole situation, so they just don't want me to come out with my evidence, and they're wishing I would go away. That's all.
And so the idea of an impartial magistrate, the idea of logical folks that where justice is blind, all of that has obviously gone all the way out of the window with respect to your case in the Ronald Green situation, evidently. Now, we do have, I'm trying to patch you in because you're on the main line. We do have our producer here who wishes to interject and ask a question. Hopefully you'll be able to hear her. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead and ask your question of our guest.
Yes, and thank you, Brother Darrell, Brother Jay, Brother Shaheen, for putting on this fantastic show again. Mr. Cavalier, first, we still have you in prayers for being one of our heroes, standing the test of times, and that little bit of change that they're trying to offer you, that's barely enough to even cover some of your lawyers' fee, yet alone to try to live off of that. We're going to be there tomorrow morning, and I want to find out from you. This need to be on CNN. This needs to be world news. And Brother Jay's supposed to be trying to get that done, but how do you feel? You're standing on truth, and truth has got to be the key for us to keep on pushing on here in our state of Louisiana, particularly with our corrupt leaders. Thank you, sir.
All right, did you hear that, brother Cavalier?
Yes, sir, I did hear, and it's been a while since I talked to Sister Khadijah, and I appreciate her for all her support that she showed to me. And it's been great. But in reference to her statement, tomorrow, I'm ready to go. I'm representing myself tomorrow. I'm gonna go forward and present my evidence and what I have to get my case back on the docket within the Louisiana State Police Commission. But going forward, like she said, we're in Louisiana. Politics play a heavy role, a big heavy role, within everything. So I can't predict what's gonna go on tomorrow. I just know that the evidence I have, they have nothing to dispute that, nothing to go against that, and they don't have anything to back up their claims but just hearsay. And we all know that hearsay doesn't work in court, but we'll see if the judge allows it to pass tomorrow. And I know just from how things worked out that tomorrow someone, or more than someone will be trying to file a continuance because they messed up in their filing of their paperwork, so they're going to try to file a continuance. Hopefully the judge will see that, I've been waiting for 2 years, and just because they messed up their paperwork, I shouldn't have to suffer to allow them to have a continuance and me have to wait even longer to even have my case heard. So I think I answered the question. If I didn't, just point it out to me. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Well, yeah, they are going to try to file some sort of what we call a dilatory exception, and that's something that delays but doesn't take away the actual proceeding. And so we're familiar with those motions, and all they do is delay, and it looks as though they're trying to do what they can to kind of run the clock out. And it's unfortunate that as it is with state Democratic politics and national Democratic politics, that a lot of our leaders try to cover for wrongdoing of white Democrats that may have power, instead of dealing with the issue that affects the people. The bottom line of it is we can't have a situation where a person gets beat to death and tased to death on the side of the road. The family gets lied to. The video of the homicide comes to light and nothing gets done. And the only people that are let go are those who told the truth about it. So that kind of situation for those of us with any sense is absolutely unacceptable, and we should not accept it. And so I will just tell you this, that you are a different breed. of person, because I went back and looked at some of the interview from over a year ago in preparation for the program. And you talked about how all of this was covered up. You talked about the wiping of phones in the middle of a federal investigation, and all of these things that have got us to this point. And now it's just a situation where you want a hearing at the Louisiana State Police. You want your due process, and that's becoming problematic. Now, Judge Johnson has been on the bench for a while. He does have a reputation of fairness. We'll see how it goes. The thing I will tell you is that that is his reputation. His reputation is that he's fair. We'll see how he rules in this case. I'm not under any illusions that people are not under pressure. I'm not under any illusions about that. And a lot of that stuff is going to be to his, his discretion as to whether or not he's going to grant whatever dilatory exception that they bring to the table, because defects in your pleadings can be utilized for that. And of course, a lot of that is up to the judge's discretion. If it's not materially germane, the judge can order that they proceed, and we hope that Judge Johnson does that so you can get your day in court or your day in the hearing. The thing is, once this writ of mandamus is successful, then at that point, what kind of time frame are you looking at with respect to your hearing and your job and career?
Well, in respect to if pending that Judge Johnson rules in my favor, September is clear. The Louisiana State Police docket is clear in September. So, when it's presented and asked for the next date, September the docket is clear, and they have room for me on it, so they can place me on the docket for September. I'm ready to roll. So that's in the short term. In the long term, as far as my career, I can get placed back on the docket. I can guarantee you that the evidence that I present in front of the commission, if they are fair and going to run things how it's supposed to be ran, I'll have my job back. I don't know the timeline of that, but of course we know, as you just said, that their strategy is to push things out, to continue it. So their thing is too high behind the federal judge's decision. So they're hoping that the federal judge, rules against me, and I have to appeal the federal judge, and they get to hide behind all of that. So I can't give you a timeline on all of that. Mm-hmm. My life is not standing still, as far as, me moving on and doing something else with myself. But, I'm still pursuing to get my job back so I can have my retirement. And, if I decide to leave the job, then I'll leave it under my own willpower. I'll leave it how I want to leave it.
Now, the federal case that you said was separate from this writ of mandamus that you filed. Now, the federal case involves what with respect to you?
Well, the Louisiana State Police violated my First Amendment right, freedom of speech and press, but also them violating my whistleblower rights, my rights as a whistleblower, and other things that I've, filed in my suit. So that's in a federal court. All of that is in a federal court. And, pending the judge's decision, I'll have to appeal it, I'll have to appeal it, or I'll get a rehearing of, everything. I have to go back to the federal judge or the magistrate judge and then have a rehearing.
Right. So you're right. You're running this thing on two different tracks, and they want to hold it up at the federal level because I guess that they believe that strategy will produce a greater amount of delay, so on and so forth. Now,
correct.
Of course, everything that you're doing in state court is based upon state law, state proceedings, so on and so forth. And so the state can still compel a state agency to do what it's supposed to do. and a lot of people don't know what a writ of mandamus is, but it's just telling you, it's telling you to do what you're supposed to do what you're legally mandated to do, to actually do your job. And there is a motion. A lot of people don't know this. The motion called the writ of mandamus, which literally says, do your job. And the court is going to order you to do your job. And that's just, it's beyond me how you could get to this point on one level, but on another level, with as brutal as that murder was, and with a lot of those state troopers not wanting to go where they have sent other people, I can definitely understand, why they would fight you on this situation, because the facts are definitely not on their side, truth is not on their side, and so on. Now, there is the head of the Louisiana State Police is an African American still, right?
That's correct.
Okay, and going back to what we talked about earlier, getting our people in position. We have black folks that have been in a position to either render justice or make justice a lot easier. What kind of feedback have you gotten from that other side, the other side of thinking, on this issue? I know you expressed that that you were even told by a former mentor that you did this to yourself, by what you did, or the implication that your standing up for justice was the wrong thing to do for your career. Can you talk about that at all?
Yeah, I can talk about that. As far as the other side, I'm assuming you're talking about the black officers, black troopers, and things like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, yeah, you were correct. I had a former mentor, someone I considered a mentor, tell me those things that, I brought this upon myself. But as we see, and I'm not saying this to be, to brag about anything, all of us are not built the same. We're not built the same, no matter our age, and, the walk of life we come from, or if we're supervisors or not, our titles, anything. We're just built different. And you see that when the pressure is on. So here you have a chance to stand up and do something a real man would do something a real decent human being would do, no matter your race or whatever. And you want to cower. And not only do you want to cower, you want to try to pull someone else down to cower with you, someone else that's showing more bravery than you are. So this is what it calls. The guys and the women who speaks against me, and I don't think it's many of them, because I don't get a lot of blowback from those people. Most of them stay quiet, have no opinion at all, and I get a lot of support from black troopers as well, but and officers around the state and the country. But those that speak, the few that does speak against me, the words that get back around to me, because no one ever speaks to my face about it. But when it get back around to me, it comes from the people that are feeling like me doing this is causing them to put a mirror up to their face and show what they are not doing. I'm doing this, so it caused them to reflect and look at themselves. They know they had knowledge of the Ronald Green situation. They know they had knowledge of state police's toxic culture and environment, but they didn't say anything. So now they're looking at me like, okay, he's forcing us to look at ourselves. So they're just feeling bad, and they're just trying to throw that blame and that guilt off on me, saying I'm doing something wrong, when it's obvious. It's obvious that I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't committed a crime. I haven't beat no one. White, black, different. I haven't, did any of that. All I did was expose the things that state police is trying to hide. And here's another side of that. Another side is that the guys that are speaking against me, or the guys that are being quiet and, not saying anything, not standing up, not, showing any type of bravery, they were all in huddles with me talking about how bad the culture is at state police before all of this come about. We get in little huddles and talk, but when it's time to come out and say what's going on, nobody wants to speak. Nobody wants to say anything. But to answer your question more directly, I get a lot of support from either they're retired troopers or current troopers, retired officers, current officers, and the public. So for the most part, I would say it's all love, it's all support. It's just that a lot of people are just not willing to, speak to me out in the open, or even try to do what I'm doing, or give me support for it.
And I love the humble way that you put it. Everybody's not built the same. Some people are built to stand up, and again, it's all in what you want, what you're seeking. If you want freedom or justice, it's different from comfort. And a lot of us accept comfort so that we don't have, because we're too afraid to seek justice and to seek the truth. So we would rather be comfortable on a situation where our retirement, all of the different things that we may have going on. And I'm gonna tell you, my wife talks about this a lot of times when there are bad things going on at the job and everybody has an opinion in the huddle. And then when you get in front of the people who can do something about it, instead of everybody lining up on what's right, people remain silent. And a lot of times you are singing a solo instead of a duet, or you singing or it's a choir. You're singing a solo thing for justice. And so a lot of times when you run out there, you turn around thinking everybody's behind you, and you turn around and you're there alone, unfortunately, So, and we definitely commend your courage for coming out and standing up for what's right, and your wisdom of actually keeping receipts on these people, because this is a systemic thing where you have a judge telling him he should settle, and this is systemic. All of these different parties that are supposed to be objective and impartial, it looks like all of them are coming together to sweep this thing under the rug. It's a systemic issue that's coming down on you and around you as far as this goes. And I tell people all the time, you got to hold these people accountable. The names that brother mentioned, those people should be called. Their officers should be called. Is this true? Why would you do that? Why are you defending a governor that saw the video of a murder and remained quiet, and then used keeping the integrity of an investigation, not interfering with the integrity of an investigation? And you sat there and listened to them lie for over a year and said nothing. Well, that undermines integrity. When you listen to somebody lie, you're definitely undermining integrity, because lies and integrity don't mix, And so it just seems that no matter what the deal is, whether it's Democrat or Republican, and like my father told me recently, the right, when you talk about wings, right wing and left wing, he said that the right wing and the left wing are still on the same bird. So my daddy provided me with a little insight on that thing. But so what would you you say that for the most part you've gotten love, you've gotten support. Of course, it looks like your attorney, your former attorney, went a little sideways on you in terms of trying to accept some money, and that there was a conflict of interest with her being friends with the governor.
Yeah, I call it a conflict of interest. I never screamed about it or made it a big deal, but just hindsight, hindsight is always clear. And I just looking back and I thought about it, but the main thing is that what's on paper, what's on these recordings, the things she said about the Supreme Court the Court of Appeals being stacked with people who don't give two what's about civil rights cases. So your attorney telling you things like that just to discourage you to not go forward and fight is just one of the many things that attorneys shouldn't do. So I'm filing my complaints against her, and just going through the process. But she's no longer my attorney. She decided to step down, and I had two more attorneys, a pair of attorneys who were partners. You know, I had those attorneys just previously, but you know, we didn't leave off on no bad note or anything like that. It's just I felt like the money that they were trying to charge me was just a bit much for what I needed to do, and I ended up filing these things myself.
So you ended up doing it yourself. That's
Correct.
look, that's commendable. So you're going forward, and so from here on out, you intend to, I guess, do those things and do your own research and handle these things yourself. That, you know, and we read about a person who fired his attorneys, and he was looking at life in prison, defended himself, and ended up getting acquitted. So a lot of times, if an attorney is not on the same page and doesn't really believe in the justice that you're seeking, sometimes that can be a significant hindrance in you achieving. Because what it looks like, what you're looking at is, or what you're going for is justice, and you're basing that justice on what is true. You're doing what is right, but it seems as though everybody else has kind of met and had a conversation as to where they think they should lead you and lead this case, and it's just impossible to erase what America has seen in this Ronald Green murder, in how he was brutally attacked, and how others in the state of Louisiana have been brutally attacked by the same police agency. And so I hope that you're successful.
Brother, I got I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I got a tweet question.
Okay.
A text message.
Okay.
Through Sister Khadijah from another caller.
Okay.
They want to know what organization or basically is the NAACP helping Brother Cavalier.
All right. So the question that was patched in, Brother Cavalier, because you're on the main line, and that is have you received help from the state NAACP or any local NAACP?
None at all. None. Zero. I mean, just to be frank about it, no. None at all.
All right. So that's your answer. The NAACP, he says none at all. Now, we're talking about an internationally known case. We're talking about video. It's really an open and shut situation in terms of people being charged and convicted of homicides. When you look at that video, it's open and shut, just like with the Alton Sterling video, open and shut. But for whatever reason, when it went to the gentleman that's running for governor, right, Jeff Landry,
and Pat McGee, advocate attorney, second.
Right, and so none of those people. So there's a pattern of just kind of sweeping things under the rug. The local DA, Hiller Moore, just kind of cowered out and recused himself to get out and get from under it. But it was horrendous, just like this situation with Ronald Green and how horrendous that was. And then to lie about it, to obstruct justice, which is a crime on both the state and the federal levels. So, Brother Cavalier, again, as I said before, we want to commend you on your stand. We will, of course, be at the courthouse to show support. The 19th JDC. What time is your hearing?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. All right. So for those who can make it and stand with our brother and show support, we always ask people to do the right thing. We always ask the question, why don't these guys stand up for what's right when they have these jobs? Well, we have a man by the name of Carl Cavalier who is standing up for what's right, who's doing everything we said we wanted people to do. I mean, we just have to be honest. If I wanted somebody to be a picture of doing the right thing, I mean, if do the right thing is in the dictionary, Spike Lee's movie title, brother Carl Cavalier's picture would have to be right there in the encyclopedia for do the right thing. Okay? So for those who can make it, 19th JDC, again, Don Johnson has a reputation for being fair. That is his reputation. And I want to disclose at this time, probably 20 years ago or more, Don Johnson was a guest on this program talking about criminal justice and ways that young black men could navigate that situation more effectively, right? So matter of fact, he was I believe on my radio program as well. So he has a reputation, but I don't know because I hadn't talked to him in a while. So you never know. And just as Brother Cavalier found out that things had changed with people, we don't know. The only thing we can do is hope for the best and understand that Judge Johnson is a very intelligent man, and we hope that he is consistent with his reputation. You know, and I think he's earned his reputation, don't get me wrong, but we want him to be consistent, particularly in a case like this, when a person tells the truth and gets fired. And wasn't there another officer that was terminated?
It wasn't terminated. He resigned. He resigned. Albert Paxton.
Was he about to be terminated, or what was the?
They took disciplinary actions against him. He appealed it and won that appeal. We kind of had our appeal process at the same time. So after winning the appeal, he decided to resign.
Okay, I got you. And so, the two of you had things kind of contemporaneously, but your particular case is the one that's being held up. And I guess, you know, do you think it's the reasons of race, or do you think it's the evidence that you have, or maybe a combination of the two?
I won't jump on race on that one. It could be. I'm not ruling it out, but I'm not just the one to just jump on it. But I'll call a spade a spade. But I think it's more so. I filed a lawsuit. He didn't. So they got more to lose messing with me, because he probably let them know, like, look, I'm about to retire anyway. So, they gave him what he needed and got him out of there. And look, I don't want to take anything from him. That guy is a great guy. As far as I know, he's a great guy, and he deserved whatever he wanted to do in my eyes. But I think it was just a thing that I filed a lawsuit, and all my damages and everything, that they just don't want to have to deal with that. And they don't want to have to deal with someone who spoke up and spoke out being back on the job to show the people who ducking and hiding that, hey, look, you can speak out, be yourself, be a decent human being, and land on your feet. They don't want to see that,
So they don't want a successful precedent started. And so this fight with you is bigger than just you. It's about maintaining the reckless culture that they're comfortable with. Is that what you would say?
That's accurate. I guess I'll put it in better terms. You say when our ancestors decide to run away from that plantation, if you get caught, they're gonna bring you back. Hang you out in the open so everybody else can see, like, hey, you don't run away. You don't do that.
So yeah, so what you're saying is that they're trying to make an example out of you to tell the rest of the would-be enslaved, at least mentally right now, don't ever do what he did. And
don't try.
Yeah, and man, that is something. Well, I definitely want to commend you for what you're doing. We of course pray that God would bless you and bless your family with great success. We do understand that what you're doing today is similar to what Rosa Parks did yesterday. It's similar to what others have done to seek justice. And Rosa Parks had to move all the way to Detroit, Michigan, to get away from the pursuit of racists that was happening decades later based upon what she did. And so I want to definitely commend you for your courage. You are actually doing something that is going to further the position of our people and help our community to be better. And once you are successful, you will help to heal a lot of other people and their wounds and the wounds that they've suffered as a result of this kind of injustice, and have an impact on the crazy culture that we're looking at the Louisiana State Police. You go ahead and make any final comments that you wish to make, sir.
I definitely appreciate that. I'm right now I'm just focused on keeping my head, keeping my head high and, pushing forward in this process. Any support that I can get, you guys been supportive of me this entire time. I appreciate that, and I'm grateful for any support I can get, whether it's prayers, people sending me money for a cup of coffee or anything, anything will help. But I think more than anything, seeing people in person tomorrow at the hearing, at a place where I have to represent myself.
Right.
Just looking back behind me and seeing that support, man, that's going to mean, I can see it now, it's going to mean everything to me already. So I appreciate that. Before I go, whenever you have time, Brother Darryl.
Yes, sir.
Give me a call. Can you give me a call, like either tonight, tomorrow, whenever you're ready, just give me a call if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. I will be happy to hit you up, and honored to converse.